It's a fall Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It's time we give out our NFL best bets. Coming off a crazy 12-4 streak in the past 2 weeks in our best bets, we're looking to give out some more winners for this week's NFL Week 7 Best Bets and Lock episode. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of the Degen Docs here on the DFSG Plus channel. Woo! We have been on a streak, 3-1 for each of us last week. 6-2 combined the last 2 weeks. That is 12-4. We've been on an incredible locks record here, and we're going to continue that. And look, folks, if you don't know who you're talking in your ear holes right now, I'm one of your hosts here at the Degen Doc, and more importantly, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. What's up, brother? How we doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Fuck Andrew Berry, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay, Mike Tomlin. That's one way to start the show here. We've got a little bit of last week my team was playing on Thursday night. Now your team on Thursday night, so we're gonna have a fun episode.
No, it's not even so much the Thursday night. It's the Bengals and the Green Bay Packers giving up 28 points in the fourth quarter to bust my under. How the hell does that happen? I was hoping for a perfect week. I leave the in-laws, over in Columbus, about an hour away from home, and I'm like, there's no way. There's only like 24 points left it's like 24 points scored in the game. We got the fourth quarter to go. I got this in the bag. Nope. I'm close.
It's the NFL, baby. It's football. And that's what we need, folks. Despite going 3-1, still bitching and moaning, and because we want those perfect weeks, and we know it's coming. But hey, look, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Thanks for you for joining us here. Cheers to you. And if you're coming back every week, well, we really appreciate you being one, holding it down. It's the NFL Week 7 Best Bet Show. And what that means, if this is your first time, we are going to start off with a little bit of banter about some things big in the news, very quick. Then we are going to get right into our props of the week. We each give out 3 prop bets. Then we'll move on to our best bets, or what we like to call around here, Doc's prescriptions. Bets we feel so good about that we are prescribing them to you. That is, you typically spread, over, under, money line, team total, something like that. Then we got our Degen plays where we have a little fun and try to, maybe win a shit ton of money. And then, of course, we finish out with the Thursday night preview this week, an AFC North division rivalry game here. Look, a lot to get to in a quick manner here about the highlights of the NFL this week. Let's start with Coach has already been fired, so catch those first bet fire tickets. The Titans, not only did Brian Callahan get fired, but he sucked enough that he got his father, who was a legend of an offensive line coach, Bill Callahan, fired as well. Pretty shitty thing for a son to do. That's the reaction there?
Well, I mean, with his father, he resigned. He didn't necessarily get fired. Once his son got
they mutually parted ways.
He might as well, just
let's be honest.
At least they didn't ask Brian Callahan to fire his dad a week or two ago, because the Titans offensive line has sucked basically all year. So at least they didn't say, hey, you need to fire your dad. 2 weeks later, a week later, we're going to go ahead and boot you out of town as well. But yeah, no, I think it's one of those things where when he was with the Bengals, that offense was really humming. It probably would. Most offensive coordinators are going to have a pretty good offense when you have the likes of a Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins and all of the studs that the Bengals have on offense. Since he's gone down to Tennessee, they've been one of the laughing stocks of the league and hasn't really done much in it. This entire season, every time he steps up to a mic, it just looks like he hates his job. So I think
it's have one anymore.
Probably fine. At the end of the day, we'll see how the Titans move forward here with their rookie Cam Ward.
Yeah, with Mike Vrabel coming to town this week as a big favorite, so that's going to be fun. Must be fun for the Titans front office who let Vrabel go there just a couple years ago. Look, also Chiefs are back. The Kansas City Chiefs are back. We tried to tell you last week. We both gave out Kansas City -2.5 as one of our locks, and now they get back Rashee Rice. Look out for that offense, which I'm sure we'll talk more about. But what I want to talk about really quick is the dynamic duo in the NFL, the new dynamic duo. That is Mr. Jackson Dart and Cam Scattermoo. Look, I'm just going to say I won't go too long here, but most fun I've had watching a Giants game in almost a decade. Saquon Barkley. I'm wearing Benedict Barkley's shirt here. Very old. In honor of his documentary that he decided to release. That is just a great viewing party I hope them had, where the Philadelphia Eagles walked into MetLife and got their ass kicked. Great win by the New York Football Giants. Look, man, I am very all the way bought back in on my Giants. I don't know if you have anything to say, but I'm happy enough. You can say whatever, and it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, no, I mean the Giants definitely have a couple fascinating whites over there on the offensive side of the
Exciting
ball.
whites, baby.
Exactly.
So that was I was not super confident going into that game, and man, that was a great way to start the week. It's so good when your team wins on Thursday and you're just like, I just get to watch this, stress free, just kind of sweat out some of my bets, and then that's pretty much it. So hopefully I
can manage that this week. We'll see.
Yes, absolutely. All right, really quick, we talked about it, but as our records recap, look, we were very nice. Derek, I have to give him a shout out there. Professor Locks, 7-1 on his Thursday night football props last week there. Absolutely crushed it. 3 for 4 out of his anytime touchdown bets there. So shout out to you, my friend. And shout out to us again, both us going 3-1. I went 2-1 on the props. The Bijan, I gave out his rush receiving all the way back on Wednesday. He went for like over 200. Bryce Young, you went for 3 pass touchdowns instead of 2. So hopefully you had a little bit of ladder opportunity there. So if you listened last week, you're damn sure you made money. And that's what we're hoping to do this week. NFL Week 7. We got 2 buys and 2 teams that desperately need the buy in the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. Man, the Ravens 1-5, the Bills coming off 2 losses. Which team would you think, season moving forward, who do you think moves further in the playoffs? Let's assume that, they both make it, given the current construction of their teams. Who would you trust? Bills, Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, based on where both teams are sitting right now, I don't know if the Ravens are going to be able to catch up in order to make it.
Right.
But with that being said, I still think that the Bills have a better shot moving forward. I think the big thing is, offensively, they still look pretty dynamic. They struggled this past week against a pretty good Atlanta Falcons defense, but defensively, the Bills are really missing Matt Milano in the center of that defense. When do we expect him to be back?
Well, he re-aggravated a pec, so it's going to be several weeks.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So, I mean, once he gets back, I think that's going to hopefully at least solidify their defense to a certain extent. I would not be surprised if they're buyers on the defensive side of the ball over the next couple weeks before the trade deadline. Now, the Ravens standpoint, we expect Lamar Jackson to be back after the bye, and that should improve their offense to a certain extent, but their defense is still struggled. They're still going to be missing some of those guys on the defensive side. So, I mean, it might be fairly similar to how we've seen the Bengals over the last 2-3 years. The Ravens can score with anybody as long as Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry are on the field. Defensively, I don't know if they're going to be stopping too many teams.
Yeah, no. For me, ultimately, I can't trust either of these defenses. I think that, injuries aside, the Bills beat up on some bad teams and the Ravens had a bit of a tougher schedule. So I think these teams are actually fairly even despite the records. And even when these injuries come back, I'm not trusting either team to really make a run. So I'm glad I did not tie up too much of the futures, if any, really, in these teams making the playoffs or anything like that. So, all right, let's get into our props of the week. I will let you go first, my friend. What is your first prop for NFL Week 7?
Let's see here. Oh, looky here.
Uh-oh.
We get to talk a little bit about one of those exciting whites and your New York Football Giants. In this case, we're going to start with quarterback Jackson Dart. So far, Jackson Dart has been playing pretty well. He had a little bit of a stinker down there in New Orleans a couple weeks ago, and sadly, what's that?
That's Darius Slayton's fault. Sorry, I'll stop the
comment. Oh, sure. But at the same time, he definitely struggled a little bit on the road down there in New Orleans. Had a couple of turnovers, and now he's going out to Denver with an even better defense. I don't think he's going to play super well like he did this past week at home. So give me Jackson Dart over a half interception at -125, going up against the Denver defense that they're gonna find him in the backfield. They're leading the league in sacks, and we know how Pat Surtain is on one side, basically locking down your best receiver, which is who? Oh, wait. I don't know if you have any receiver.
Well, hopefully Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, or Jacoby Myers if we get the trade in time. But yes, right now, I guess Wan'Dale Robinson. So I understand. Yeah. Look, rookie quarterback on the road in a tough environment against a good defense. I think, -125 is actually a really good price. Only thing I will say is they do lead the league in sacks by a wide margin. I think they're going up against two of the better tackles in the NFL, and Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor. So we'll see. But I can't hate on the play because the process is correct, even if it is my guy. And, if he throws one, that's okay. We can still get the W and rally around it because I have a feeling Bo Nix is going to throw a couple himself. All right. Prop for me on the other side. Give me Quinshon Judkins over 84.5 yards. I know what you're saying. Damn, that's a high total. Well, yeah. I mean, last week against Steelers, game script kind of wasn't able to get going against a much better D-line. Didn't do great, but the 3 weeks before, 18 for 94, 21 carries for 82, and 23 carries for 110 yards. So, past 4 weeks, 2 and 4 to that number. But really what we're targeting here is an awful Miami Dolphins rush defense. In the past 2 weeks, last week, they gave Kamani Vidal up. They gave up 124 yards on 18 carries, over almost 7 yards a rush. And then the week before that, it was the Rico Dowdle coming out party. 23 carries, 206 yards. He averaged 9 yards a rush.
Yep.
So, I understand the 84. I don't think the books could have put the number high enough. I think this is a perfect situation where the Browns, they're going to want to play behind their running game, play behind their defense. We're going to likely see some Tua turnovers here. It's supposed to, they're calling for rain and not the best conditions. Right. The best path to victory for the Browns is to hand the ball to Quinshon Judkins 20-plus times, and he is going to break one. He looks electric. He looks explosive. I love him this week to exploit a terrible Miami rushing defense.
Don't mind that one. At all. We'll talk a little bit more about the Browns probably moving forward here. But the next one that I have is another quarterback, another fade of a quarterback, and another former New York Giants quarterback. Let's talk a little bit about Daniel Jones going out to LA to face a Chargers defense that they've played 6 games to this point and only given up 5 passing touchdowns. On the same or at kind of the same point, Daniel Jones has 8 touchdowns in 6 games. I'm taking his under 1.5 passing touchdowns in this one. I think that in general, kind of as we saw or as we expected in this season, the Colts are still a run-first offense. Yes, Daniel Jones has been a little bit more prolific than what we expected, but they're still not throwing the ball into the end zone a ton. So give me Daniel Jones under 1.5 passing touchdowns at -115.
Yeah, it's going to be a very intriguing game. You have the Colts traveling to LA there. Looks like they may be getting Khalil Mack back. He's returning to
Mhm.
practice to add a little bit of pressure. And I think, like you were saying, the Colts probably best path to victories, probably just Jonathan Taylor a million times through.
Absolute stud. Yeah.
So, I like it. I like it. All right, I'm gonna go different NFC. Well, former NFC, but now he is from one former NFC East to a NFC East quarterback in the different
Okay.
direction. Give me Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels over 1.5 pass touchdowns at -115. Mine are all over at Bet365 here because they've
Yeah.
got numbers early enough. But I'm going back to the well. I hit this last week with Bryce
Yep.
Young and in the similar spot, excuse me.
Yeah.
But Jaden Daniels, look, he's 2 to 4 for this number. He had 1 pass touchdown, 2, 1, and then 3 last week. But it's really about this Cowboys defense. They are letting anybody throw on them. They're the worst
Yep.
pass defense in the league, and it's not just yards. So except for week 1 when Jalen Hurts, the quarterback running back guy who doesn't, like maybe his offense coordinator just doesn't want him to throw the ball,
Yeah.
every other quarterback has hit this. So
Yep.
including guys like Russell Wilson, who threw for 3, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Justin Fields, and Bryce Young. This is not exactly the cream of the crop as far as the quarterback department. They're expected to get Terry McLaurin back. So Terry McLaurin, Debo, McCaffrey, Ertz. I think that one, this is a very easy defense to pass against, and 2, I think they're going to have to. Their defense lighting it up either, and that Cowboys offense can move the ball, especially at home. I expect this to be fireworks, high scoring game. Give me Jane Daniels over 1.5 passing touchdowns, -115 over in Jerry's World this week.
Nope, I don't hate that one at all. And my final prop for this one is the return of Rashee Rice going up against a Raiders defense that has been okay, I guess. But this Chiefs
Putting it
offense
nicely.
has really looked like it's back to the Chiefs offense that we expect. Over the past 3 weeks, they've put up over 30 points in each of the last, or I guess 2 of the last 3 weeks. They got to 28 against the Jags, and Patrick Mahomes gets his best matchup or his best target back in
Yeah.
Rashee Rice. I think that he's going to try to get him involved early and often. He's not necessarily coming off of injury. This is a suspension type of a deal. So will it still take him a week or 2 to get back into football shape? Probably. But I think that they are going to look for opportunities to have him make an impact in this game so that way that he can get reintroduced into that offense and back into the mix with Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce and the boys.
Yeah, already reports saying that look, he's good to go. He's a full go. He's
Yep.
been kind of almost a full go since training camp injury wise.
Right.
And Jeremy Fowler, I think, reported like they're expecting to get him a large amount of snaps and really
Yep.
kind of let it be his coming out party. It's not coming back from an injury type deal. It's more of that suspension type. So there's really no reason for him to not be, full steam ahead. I'm sure Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to want to get him going, and they got a great matchup here. I like that a lot. All right, my final prop. I guess we're talking former Giants. Give me Evan Ingram over 27.5 receiving yards at -110. Look, this is a combination of Evan Ingram is slowly starting to get into the fold, build that chemistry. He was dealing with an injury early on, but the past 3 weeks, he's hit this number. He's had 29, 33, and 42 receiving yards. Even in that ugly game in London, he was the leading receiver for the Broncos there. And the Giants, as much as I love this team, 240, we're giving up 242 yards on average through the air against teams. I think we're bottom 10 in the pass department there, and especially to the tight end. Dallas Goedert just went for 110 yards just last week. Historically, Giants, whether it's Okereke, Masua there, we got a couple backup linebackers in the mix. We struggle with the tight end, and I think, look, we were kind of pounding the table in the offseason, like Sean Payton brought Evan Ingram over here to be his joker, to be his kind of gadget guy, whatever, or at least to be somebody that, outside of Cortland Sutton that Bo Nix can rely on. And I think we're starting to see that. And I think he's starting to get an uptick. I think this number is just way too low. Although I don't expect a ton of points in this game, I do think that he's going to easily get over this 27.5 receiving yards there.
Yeah.
All right, we're now actually, let's do a quick recap. Make sure everyone got those before we jump on over to our best bets. For Derek, he is on, unfortunately, Jackson Dart over half an interception, -125 at Denver. But he's on Daniel Jones under 1.5 plus touchdowns, -115. So a little bit of give and take for us Giants fans. And then Rashee Rice, anytime touchdown, +130 in his first week back off suspension against a bad Raiders defense. For myself, give me Quinshon Judkins over 84.5 rush yards against a terrible Miami defense. Give me Evan Ingram over 27.5 receiving yards against my Giants, who are very susceptible to the tight end. And finally, Jaden Daniels over 1.5 passing touchdowns, -115, going back to the well against the Dallas defense that is the worst pass defense in the NFL. Okay, best bets time. It is time for Doc's prescriptions. Time for us to give you something, prescribe it to you because we feel so good about it. Look, and need I remind you, 12-4 in our last 2 weeks. We're on a heater. We're going for a sweep this week. What do you got as your first best bet for NFL Week 7?
Yeah, let's. I can't believe that I'm doing this in the first case, but give me the Jets in this one against the Carolina team that's going on the road to MetLife. This Jets team has been up and down. Obviously, this past week they were across the pond, and Justin Fields had a net -10 passing yards. I think that it might be the first in, the past like 40, 50, 60 years. I don't know whenever they figured out how to throw the forward pass, that might have been the last time that this that had occurred. But I think
knows how to throw the forward pass. But okay, continue.
Well, that's fair. But I think it comes down to a couple things. One, everybody's shitting on the New York Jets, and for good reason. Right. Everybody is also starting to back this Carolina Panthers team, which has looked better than they have over the past couple of years. But my biggest thing is they've looked better at home. Mm-hmm. They've looked better at home. They've lost basically every game that they've played on the road to this point. All 3 of their wins came in Carolina. And I think this New York Jets team matches up with them pretty well. This Carolina team has looked better against the run this year, but I still don't think I can fully trust that rush defense against the team that just wants to pound the rock over and over and over again with Justin Fields and Breece Hall and Braylon Allen and all those guys. So I think the Jets do figure out how to get a win in this one, and figure out how to get in the winning column for the first time this season.
Yeah, this is an ugly play, but I think this is the right side. I have a little bit of this in the personal portfolio. As ugly as it is, the only thing that kind of kept it off my best bets board was the Garrett Wilson injury news. It haven't officially been ruled out, but expected to not be out there. Now, this could go 2 ways. This could be like, well, who the hell are they going to throw the ball to? Or now
I think it opens it up, to be honest.
Right.
A lot of times they're kind of not necessarily forcing it to Garrett Wilson.
I think they kind of are force feeding him,
but they kind of are, right?
Led to some problems, right? So if this just allows him to kind of free flow with the offense, and I'm not Carolina on the road they should not be favored. They've shown in 3 straight times, they'll look good one week and then they'll go on the road and get their beats breaken off by the Patriots or someone, So
right, I mean, in the 3 road games that they've played, they've put up 13 against the Patriots, 22 against an Arizona Cardinals defense that had a bunch of dudes out,
right,
and only 10 points in week 1 against the Jags on the road. So I think there is a massive difference in both offense and defense for the Panthers once they get away from their home environment.
Yeah, no. Look, I think you're on the right side there. We're gonna go from one ugly bet to another ugly bet because we're talking about that was what 0-6 versus 3-3. Well, this is 1-5 versus 1-5 here. Give me the Cleveland Browns at home -2.5. Against the 1-5 Miami Dolphins here. I know this is ugly, and that's what I want. I want an ugly game in this one. It's supposed to be raining. I want Quinshon Judkins to get 25 carries. He's going to have, 125 and 2 touchdowns because no one on Miami, they're soft. They don't want to be there. We had a Tua apology after the game last week. Tua was saying he was calling out leadership. Now he's walking back. Everyone, if you're on any type of NFL media, they're talking about all these players that are trying to get traded, and they're like half of them are on the Dolphins, whether it's, Phillips, Chubb, Waddle. Everyone's just, it seems to be a fire sale there. Everyone wants to blow it up. And meanwhile, this Cleveland team, you've got the rookie quarterback there. You've got the rookie running back. And I think what Cleveland wants to do is really going to be a pain point for the Miami Dolphins. They want to slow the game down. Like, the line of scrimmage for me is where this game's going to be won and lost.
Right.
Cleveland offensive line, they traded for Cam Robinson. They're getting a little bit healthier. I think they're improving, giving Gabriel some time, opening up some holes in the run game. And then, we talk about Miami's offensive line. They still got guys on IR. They're a mess all over the place. Defensive line, they're the worst rush defense in the NFL right now. They're giving up so many yards. They just look like they don't want to be there. And I'm going to take, this is exactly the game that you want to play the Cleveland Browns. Ugly home game. No one thought they were going to beat the Green Bay Packers when they were playing at home. They got that 10-13 win. I'll take something as ugly as that, but I just think they're a lot more respectable of a team at home. Really, they've only had 2 true road games, home games. Week 1 against Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, where they really lost. They should have won. They lost on a last-second field goal. They lost that game by 1 point. They were in position to kick the game-winning field goal. They beat Green Bay, and then they played in London against Minnesota, a game they probably also should have won, but was not obviously in Cleveland. So this defense, this team's different in Cleveland and Miami. Their one win is against the Jets, where we were both on the Jets and still kind of think that was the right side with all the mess that happened. Fumble at the goal line, all those penalties and crap. So, I'm not betting on Miami on the road at all. Give me the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna tell you on that one. This is also one of my locks, so might as well touch on this one now. As soon as I saw that there's rain here, I looked at both Cleveland and Cincinnati for Thursday. On Thursday, it should be fairly clear there in Cincinnati, but this weekend we're expecting rain Saturday and Sunday. So that field up there in Cleveland is going to be a sloppy mess, which is exactly the type of environment that these Browns can really thrive off of. I think in general, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Cleveland's defense at home is nasty. And when you start to talk about a rainy day, Tua's little hands might just, allow one to slip to Ward or Emerson's gone now, but to Ward or Delpit or one of those guys. At the same time, this Miami offense has looked pretty good most of the year, giving or scoring at least 20 points in the last 5 games. But that Cleveland Browns defense is legit. I do think that the Browns can get something going offensively enough with Judkins and a couple of those tight ends that have been playing pretty well in Fannin and Njoku. And Miami's defense hasn't been able to slow down anybody. They've given up over 20 points, I believe, in every single game that they've played. Yeah, every game that they've played, they've given up at least 20, at least 27 this season. So I do think that this is an ugly game. But yes, I think both of us are on the right side here and taking the Brownies at home.
Yeah, look, last week we were on the Chiefs, and that was a no-sweat winner, so let's hope for another one this week. All right, I will. Speaking of the Chiefs, give me the Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs minus 11.5 here against the Raiders. You have the Chiefs at home. This is a spot where, as much as the Chiefs last year, they would play with their food, and they would play down to their competition, and then they would pull it out and not cover these big spreads. I don't think this is the same Chiefs team. And one thing's for certain, you have Rashee Rice back, right? They have never, since they traded and drafted Worthy and they got Hollywood Brown, the 3 of them have not played together in one game. This will be the first game that Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are all on the field at the same time. You've got the rookie, Brashad Smith as a little gadget guy. You got Thornton still. You got Kelsey. You got Juju if he can, if he can pick up his nose after the altercation with Brian Branch. But it's a situation where I love the Chiefs here. They're turning that corner. We kind of said it. We saw it in the Jacksonville game, that offense where they put up 28 points. Like, at Baltimore when they put up 37, like something's kind of switched and they're starting to hit that gear. And that's not a train I want to get in front of. Detroit found that out very quickly last week. They would have covered this game against Detroit. They would have covered this game against Baltimore. Obviously, the only other home game they played was against Philly, where they didn't have Xavier Worthy, no Rashee Rice, a little bit different situation, much better defense. So I think the Raiders actually, we get to also fade a Raiders coming off a win. You don't typically see that. I mean, the last two times the Raiders have went on the road, they lost 40-6 to the Colts and 40-21 against the Commanders. I think the Chiefs are a better offense than both those teams right now. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. So give me Kansas City minus 11.5, minus 112. I know it's a high number, but don't be scared off. Geno Smith's going to turn the ball over several times. And I think they're going to want to, Andy Reid's going to want to kind of show the world what his toys can do. And I think they're going to slaughter them.
Yeah, no, I like that pick as well. I mean, there have been reports that there's some question marks, even if Geno Smith is going to continue as that starting quarterback for the Raiders. I mean, Pete Carroll came out and said, no, this is our guy. But if they continue the way that they're going, they're going to have to make a move sooner than later. My next one, let's talk a little bit about the Saints and Bears game. Give me the Bears at home. The Bears have been looking pretty good over the last few weeks. Have come off or coming off 2 1-point wins on the road, and we talked about it a lot in our college episode last night. Take a look at that for those of you that like the college game. But good teams win on the road, and the Bears have come off or coming off of back-to-back road spots where they did pull out wins against the Raiders as well as the Commanders last week. And the Saints, on the other hand, are still the Saints. I mean, they struggled to score the ball, and I think the Chicago offense is starting to hit their stride a little bit. So give me the Bears in this one, laying the 4.5.
Yeah, I think that bye week seemed to do them well. They looked prepared. That was a solid game against the Commanders. That's a good road win. So this will be a test. This is someone who believed in the Bears in the offseason, have a decent amount of coin tied up in their over-win total, playoffs, and even the division. You got to win these games, right? Now the Saints are no slouch, but they're definitely more competitive at home than on the road there. This is one you should definitely win. And the running game of the Bears, came to life against the Commanders, which would be a huge development for that team. So I like it. All right. I am going to now go to some picks that are a little bit off the wall because it's two teams that I trust to score points, but I don't know about to get the win. And the first is the Dallas Cowgirls team total over 26.5, minus 120 there. They are 4-2 to this number at home. In the season, and then they are 2-0 at home. You got the Commanders coming to town, and really for both teams, kind of a do or die game. The Commanders are a team that's 1-2 on the road. Their defense has not been great in their two road games. They gave up 27 to the Packers, 34 to the Falcons, and then they did win and get a very beat up Chargers team, only let up 10. But really, this is about Dallas and that offense. So put up 40 put up 40 both home games. And now you have an offense that is getting back CeeDee Lamb, Kevontae Turpin, and their left guard Tyler Booker. Like, as good as they've been at putting up points, they're now getting healthier. So you had George Pickens. You gave him time to get that chemistry with Dak Prescott. CeeDee Lamb, they've had years to do that. They don't need that time. So now you really should have two kind of alpha wide receivers. I don't know how the Commanders are going to be able to stop that offense. And it's a situation where this Cowboys team does not have the luxury of being able to sit on a lead or just kind of play behind their defense. Their defense is going to give up 24 points, out the gate. So you better score if you want any chance there in Jerry's world. So whether this comes late or whether, they're protecting a lead or whatever it is, the Cowboys are going to have to score every time they touch the field. And I think they know that, and that offense has been humming. So give me the Cowboys team total over 26.5 minus 120.
Hey, before I give out my fourth and final lock here, are you feeling okay?
I think so. Why? What's going on?
I mean, I don't know of you ever backing anything Cowboys related. So this is
that's why
a little weird.
I didn't say they were gonna win. I said they were gonna score points. All right, there's a big difference here. No, yeah. Look, I think I actually will be on the Cowboys here as small dogs at home, but I'm just trusting them to score points. They're still the Cowgirls.
Okay.
It's what happens when when you got a bright future with your team. You start worrying less about the others, and you start focusing internally about what's going on in the locker room.
Okay, yeah, you might want to
fuck the Cowboys. Don't worry.
You might want to worry about Scattaboo and your boy Jackson Dart going up against that Denver defense. Just throwing that out there. But
Andrew Thomas.
Let's move on to my fourth lock. Give me the Chargers to give me the Chargers laying points in this one. I think that in general that Shane Steichen offense has gotten figured out to a certain extent. I mean, the Arizona team gave them a little bit of a push this past week. Yes, they absolutely crushed the Raiders at home. Right. But the last time that they were in LA, they came home with a loss, a 27-20 loss against the Rams in SoFi. So this Chargers team, yes, it's been beat up. They've lost their starting running back. They've lost both tackles. They look pretty damn good this past week. And that, Superman type of an appearance that we saw from Justin Herbert. I can't remember what Jim Harbaugh gave him. It was like Mighty Mouse or something goofy. But he's looked pretty solid all year here. And Vidal was a nice
he looked good.
He looked really good. So I think that the Chargers offense will be pretty solid against an Indy defense that's traveling out to SoFi. And overall, like you said earlier, they should be getting Khalil Mack back. And in general, I just like the Chargers at home in this matchup. So give me the Chargers laying the points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Daniel Jones has been starting to show his cracks there a little bit, trying to, I'm not going to say he's turned into a pumpkin just yet, but the Khalil Mack coming back.
But we're waiting for that, just like we were with Sam Darnold and some of the guys last year. Eventually, defenses are catching up to some of these journeyman quarterbacks. Like, yes, they are still playing pretty well as a whole when we talk about Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and all the guys that, we thought their careers were done 3 or 4 years ago. I think that there's still a coming into your own process in that. And as you mentioned, Daniel Jones has started to show a couple cracks.
Yeah. I think that, Khalil Mack would be huge. They also brought over Odafe Owe from the Ravens. They traded for him. So if you can get some pressure on Daniel Jones, I think that's the keys to victory there. All right, doing another team total because I know this team can score points. They've been really good at winning, actually. But it's a tough matchup, so I'm going to just go for another team total over. Tampa Bay Buccaneers over 23.5 at minus 105. I thought the line, I had to check it a couple times because I thought it was just no way it's that low for Baker right now, playing at an absolute MVP level. But it is. Look, I understand that Emeka Egbuka is likely out, as well as Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving. But Godwin and Irving were out last week, and they should be getting Mike Evans back. So a little bit of a 1-to-1 with Egbuka and Evans. And Baker has just been dealing, whether it's Cade Otton, whether it's Rachaad White, whether it's Tez Johnson, Cameron Johnson, Sterling Shepard. It does not matter. And on the flip side, this Detroit Lions defense is going to be out their top 3 cornerbacks again. DJ Reid's still on IR. Terran Arnold is expected to be out a month or so, like several weeks. He's not going to be fully healthy. And then, Rex Straw, and they put another guy. Like, their secondary is beat up. And Brian Branch also may be suspended. We saw Kirby Joseph hobbling around. Like, This team is not healthy on the defense. I know they get back Aleem McNeil, which is going to help against the run, but still, he's coming off an ACL tear. Like, this is a not healthy team right now. And yeah, as much as the Bucs have had injuries, they've weathered the storm. They have been able to put up points. The past 4 weeks, they are a perfect 4 for 4 to this number. They've scored 29, 25, 38, 30. They even scored 25 in the loss to Philly. Whether it's on the road or at home, I think Baker has been playing at an MVP level. I think that, look, this is a tough matchup against a good Lions team. But I think it's going to be way more of a shootout, right? I think we're going to see something like we saw in Seattle, the 38-35. I think both these teams easily can score in the 30. If the Lions defense was healthy and had all their pieces, especially in the secondary, this might be a different conversation, right? Because the Bucs are down, a couple top guys, but they've been down top guys almost all season. So I don't understand why this number is so low. I think we're getting a steal here. So give me the Bucs over 23.5 minus 105 there over on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the total or the team total is a little bit lower because we saw this matchup in Detroit a year ago. If you remember, one of us picked the Bucs on the money line as 7-point dogs last year, and the Bucs came home with a 4-point win. That was a 20-16 game though. I'm wondering if that's the case, just because we did see this a year ago. They're fairly similar teams as a whole, and it was a pretty low scoring game. But I do think that you're on the right side here. I mean, in general, like you said, the Lions defense is already beat up a little bit, and this Bucs team has been able to score on pretty near anybody. So, I like that play.
Baker MVP, baby. They look real good on offense, so I'm gonna trust Baker. All right, it is now. I'm forgetting the recap today. Damn it! All right,
come on now.
Recap for the best bet stocks prescriptions for Professor Locks. There, he's got the Jets plus 1.5 taking on the Carolina Panthers at home. He's got the Bears minus 4.5 against the New Orleans Saints. The Chargers minus 1.5 at home against the Indianapolis Colts, and then the Cleveland Browns minus 2.5 against a lowly Dolphins. So going for all the home teams here this week. Nothing like a good home field environment. For myself, I am also on those Browns to beat up on those lowly Dolphins. Give me the Chiefs at home minus 11.5 there. Give me the Cowboys at home to score at least 27 points or more. And then the Bucs over 23.5 team total minus 105 against a Lions secondary that is either beat up or suspended. So now we're into the fun part of the show where we get to talk about our Degen plays of the week here. I will let you start out. This is where we have a little fun. Let's try to get on a yacht this year. Let's try to shoot for the moon and see if we can't put $5 and make something happen.
Exactly. Throw a little pizza money on some of these a little bit longer shots. I got a 3-leg tight end anytime touchdown parlay here. You know me. I like a little tight end, and I like some TDs. So give me Tyler Higbee for the Rams to get in the end zone against the Jags team. Puka Nacua is not going to be out there, and they're going to have to find somebody. Yes, Devontae Adams is a pretty big threat in the red zone, but I think that Tyler Higbee is going to be able to sneak out and get in the end zone. Give me David Njoku against the Miami defense that absolutely sucks to get in the end zone. They're in an ugly game in Cleveland. And then Cole Kmet for the Bears against a Saints team that's not real great against the tight end. Once we put all the three of those together, we're looking at 56-1. Individually, it's like 250, 270 to 300, somewhere in there. But 56-1 of Higbee, Njoku, and Kmet all find the end zone on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to love about a nice tight end there? I think that's very nicely done, my friend. 56-1 ain't no child's play. Now for myself, I switched up how I was doing this a couple weeks ago. I'm giving out 4 dart throw anytime touchdowns that I feel have value on them. We did this, I'm 2-6 on the year so far, but 19 units, up 19 units. Look, we went 0 for 4 last week, but that's okay because even 2-2 the week before brought home 23 units. So, hey, we're still up 19 units on the year. So I'm going to keep the method rolling. 4 guys that I think find the end zone at a crazy price. First up, Johnny Munt, anytime touchdown. That's 7-1. Some of you are like, who the hell is Johnny Munt? Well, he used to be on the Vikings. Now he's on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's going to be playing in London. And there's no Cole Strange. They like to run a lot of 12 personnel. They like to be a run-first team, which means he's going to get some targets in the red zone. He's a guy that is now having to be out there alongside Hunter Long. I looked at Hunter Long. His price is getting a little bit short, but both of these are tall. They're both tall white dudes. So you gotta, figure out which one is which. I believe he's 86, but yeah, no, I like Munt to get one in the end zone there over in London. I think 7-1 is a very nice price. Next up, Chiefs. I talked about it. They may score 100 points as they want to show off all their toys. One of the toys is rookie running back Rashad Smith. And he's a guy who's been getting more and more involved. Obviously, a running back, so he can get in the run game. But in the receiving game, they've been calling plays specifically for him. He is a speedster. He is a burner. I could see as the Chiefs are up 28-0 in the third quarter, they start to roll out some of these other guys, whether it's on the ground or through the air. I think him, Rashad Smith, anytime touchdown, 5-1 is a very nice price. And then moving forward, we're going to go with, Josh Oliver. Anytime touchdown, 11-1. He's scored 2 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. Plays for the Minnesota Vikings there. Everyone, thinks about TJ Hawkinson, but Oliver is a guy, especially in the red zone, who he's one of those tight ends that leak out into the, to the flat, and no one thinks about him because who the hell is Josh Oliver? Who the hell is Johnny Munt? These are guys that are getting targets, and in Oliver's case, 11-1 is crazy for guys who scored twice in the past 3 weeks. Going up against the Eagles defense that, we'll see. They're likely no Quinyon Mitchell. They're trying to figure out what's going on back there. We'll see if Jalen Carter returns this week, but that defense trying to figure some things out. I think whether it's Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy, finding the tight end in the red zone is a key to success. And then finally, a guy who I'm shocked has not scored yet this year, but he's just a dog. And it's coming. Baker Mayfield, anytime touchdown at plus 650. I think that's crazy. I mean, every week we see a Baker Mayfield run on third down where he just throws
sort of a scramble.
He throws 3 people off of him. You're like, how the hell is this guy doing this?
Right.
And he gets
usually it's at the 40, and one of these times it's going to be at the 10 or 15, and he's going to find it. Yeah.
He's in a game that, again, you've got different secondary pieces all over the place. You still got Aiden Hutchinson, who's going to bring some rush. I think he's going to have to step up, and he's going to, on one of these, several goal line trips I think they're going to have, I think he's going to see a lane, and he's going to take it knowing that he doesn't have his full complement of wide receivers. They're going to double cover Mike Evans, and it's going to leave a hole, and Baker Mayfield's going to go up there. So 4 guys that I think find the end zone: Johnny Munt plus 700, Rashard Smith plus 500, Josh Oliver 11-1, and Baker Mayfield plus 650. All right, it's time we talk about your team a little bit because it's the Thursday Night Football preview, breakdown, and picks. We've got an AFC North division matchup here. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers heading to the Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh laying 5.5, minus 265 on the money line. Bengals catching 5.5, plus 215. Home dogs there. Over under sitting at 44.5. The number's been creeping up. So if you're going to bet that, especially over, bet that now. All right. As we always do, I am going to go through the injuries here. But before I do that, did you see the Jamar Chase quote?
I did.
So in case,
I don't exactly know what he meant by that, to be honest.
Well, this is insane. We know the Steelers are going to come in and try to raw dog us and kill us, but we will be ready for that challenge and waiting for it. As a Steelers fan, how does that make you feel? Does that give you, are you worried about them being ready for it, or you just can't get past the fact that Jamar Chase said they were going to get raw dogged by other grown men?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily would have chosen that phrase.
Yeah, we need a little more PR training there.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect them to be ready to roll on a Thursday night at home against the division rivalry. But yeah, the phrasing there, I have some questions about. I don't exactly know what Jamar Chase is really expecting. Against the Steelers, but I'm hoping that there's not a whole lot of raw dogging on Thursday night, at least
Amazon Prime,
at least in the game, maybe post game, but
it's a family product, Amazon Prime, and I don't think I haven't looked at any recent news, but I don't think Christian Wilkins has been signed by the Steelers, so they should be okay. All right, quick injuries before I let Derek take off the analysis here. For the Steelers, no Calvin Austin, your favorite wide receiver. No Miles Killebrew, more of a special teamer. Questionable safety Deshaun Elliott, who is a starter. He's in practice all week, but it was with the NIR rest tag. So it was one of those. We'll see what's going on there. Bengals, on the other hand, down a couple tight ends. No Mike Gesicki, who's going to be out several weeks. Expect out. He's put on the IR, probably 6 to 8. He's probably got a decent pec tear there. And then Tanner Hudson, concussion off a short week. Knew he wasn't going to play this whole time. Questionable for them. Trey Hendrickson, who has minimally practiced with a back injury, but backs are a little bit tricky. Sometimes they feel better, and he could be able to go. And then Shamar Stewart, the rookie, is going to be good to go and back on the field for the first time in a while. Where are you going in this one? Are you going? You got a side, a total? How do you see this one breaking down?
Yeah, this is a tricky one because on one side of things, you have a Steelers team that has been looking pretty good over the last couple of appearances. Obviously, they had the bye week a couple weeks ago, but that offense seems to be hitting its stride, and that defense has really stepped up over the last 2 or 3 games here. On the other side, Mike Tomlin is really good in primetime games on Sunday night and Monday night.
Yeah.
Thursday, he's not very good. I believe he's 2-8 straight up, and I think it's like 3-7 all time against the spread on Thursday night. So in this case, 5.5 points in a division matchup is just too much for me. I think the Bengals are able to keep it close. I mean, Joe Flacco is in Mike Tomlin's head a little bit, and that offense did look pretty good in the second half against the Packers there. So I do think that Cincinnati can keep this one close. I can't necessarily say that they're going to get the win because, I mean, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Come on now. But I do think that they are able to cover that 5.5 point spread. So give me the points in this one down there in Cincinnati.
Wow. Okay. On the Bengals, 5.5. It is a big number in the NFL. So, okay, we'll see. Dogs have been covering and winning outright at a crazy rate in the last, 8 primetime games or something like that. So we'll see. For myself, no play on the side. I am going to be taking the over. It's kind of bouncing around. I was able to get it yesterday at 43.5. It's right now 44.5 on DraftKings, minus 105. It's at 44 on Bet365 at minus 110. So kind of wherever you can grab it at. I think this is a situation where, I think both these defenses I'm not quite sold on. I think that both these teams are susceptible to the passing game in particular. The Bengals defense is atrocious. They haven't been able to stop much of anything. Last 4 games, they've given up 27, 37, 28, and 48 points, and then 27 before that. And then the Steelers, they look good against the Browns, but they gave up 21 against the Vikings, 31 against the Seahawks, 32 against the Jets. Like, I'm not quite sold. I think this is going to be a little bit more high scoring. You said the weather shouldn't be a factor, so I'm not expecting a traditional AFC North ugly game. I do think there's going to be a little bit more scoring despite having some dinosaurs back there at quarterback in this one. But hey, why don't you give out some props here? We'll save the Dark Throws defense stuff for the end, but why don't you give out some straight props, and then we'll I'll be back on the other side there.
Yeah, the first one, you'll want to look around a little bit on the number. I was able to find this on Bet365 at 61.5. But Chase Brown's over total yards, rushing and receiving yards. Like I said, I found it at 61.5 on Bet365 at minus 110. I think it was 65.5 at DraftKings. But I think that in general, that Steelers rush defense has looked improved over the past couple of games, but I still can't fully trust it, especially at home down there in Cincinnati. And everybody's expecting Cincinnati's offense to be, really prolific through the air. I think Chase Brown can get it going a little bit. And at the same time, I think that Steelers defense can rush the passer and get after Joe Flacco. And I think the dump off to either Chase Brown, Samaje Perine, somebody like that is going to be in effect here. So Chase Brown's over total yards at 61.5. I do think that Joe Flacco is going to have to drop back and throw it quite a bit in order for that offense to get going. I think Chase Brown's going to be effective, but in general, this Bengals team just likes to throw the rock. So give me Joe Flacco's over total completions at 23.5. Going more to the Steelers side of things, you mentioned it earlier. They're going to be out Calvin Austin. Yeah. And we know that DK is their primary target. He runs the majority of the routes. Outside of that, it's basically Calvin Austin, I believe, running like 82, 83% of the routes. And then it falls to Jonnu Smith in the slot in most cases. So give me Jonnu Smith's over 26.5 receiving yards against the Bengals pass defense that we know is just not very good. And then I do have a couple defensive plays in this one, and it's going to be the Steelers rush trying to get after Joe Flacco. So give me Nick Herbig at plus 116 to get a sack. He's gotten 4.5 sacks over the past 3 weeks, 2 just this past week. Alex Highsmith should be, getting back into the swing of things, but I think that Nick Herbig has proven himself to be able to get after the quarterback, and it'll be interesting here moving forward now that he's starting to find his own in the Steelers defense, what they actually do with Herbig and Highsmith and figuring that out, because they are still looking for another wide receiver. I wouldn't be too surprised if one of them gets dealt for a wide receiver moving forward. But give me Herbig to get a sack, and then Cam Hayward is due. He's only had 1 sack this season against the Pats, but I think that he's able to get a sack, whether it's TJ Watt and Nick Herbig or Alex Highsmith, coming around the end, making Flacco step up into the pocket and just running into big old Cam Hayward's arms. We talk about all these old people playing in this game. On the quarterback side of things, Cam Hayward isn't too far behind him. So I think he's able to get a sack as well. Anytime touchdown, I'm going to split a unit between a couple Steelers tight ends. Jonnu Smith, anytime touchdown at plus 300. And Darnell Washington at plus 320. We know that Artie Smith likes to find tight ends, and especially when you're only down to basically one wide receiver. I think once they get closer to the end zone, Aaron Rodgers is going to be looking for either Smith or the big target in Darnell Washington. Connor Hayward was able to find it last week. He's probably going to look to one of those other tight ends to make them happy in this one.
Yeah, look, you could tell that Derek's excited about this one because I said to save the defense in the the Degen plays to the end, but he didn't let me talk. So I guess I'm gonna just have to go through it. Look, I like a lot of what you said here, so I'm gonna piggyback off some things in some different fashions. Joe Flacco over 232.5 passing yards, minus 110. This is a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that gives up 245 passing yards a game. Flacco off 3 days of prep threw for 219 against a much better Packers defense. I think with more time with those wide receivers.
Whoa.
Let's be objective
much
here.
Better. Come on now.
Well, at least pass defense, so we'll see. But I think more time with the wide receivers in the offense. I think he goes over this. And like I said, I think I'm expecting some points here. I think it's going to be higher scoring than people think. Also, Noah Fant over 3.5 receptions, minus 102. Going to what you were saying with Flacco with the quick dump offs and things like that. When we know about Joe Flacco, he's a guy who loves the tight end. And the Steelers are susceptible. I mean, the last game against the Browns, Harold Fannin had 7 receptions, and Jabin Njoku had 3 receptions on 6 targets. Fannin had 10 targets. And Njoku kind of would have went over that if he didn't go out with an injury. So the tight end is something that Flacco loves. I mean, Fant already had 4 catches for 27 yards last game on 4 targets. And that now we have no Tanner Hudson and no Mike Gesicki. So it's going to be the Fant show and maybe another guy that can sneak in there to talk about later. And then on the Steelers side, give me Kenneth Gainwell over 46.5 rushing and receiving yards. This is a guy that has been productive both through on the ground and through the air. He had 6 catches last week. He had 22 yards, 6 carries on the ground. Coming off that London game there against the Vikings, he had 99 rushing yards and 35 receiving yards. He's involved in the offense. And, the Cincinnati Bengals are very susceptible not only in the running game, but against the running back through the receiving game there. So I like Gainwell. And then, I love you getting over on the defensive side. I'm going to go another Steeler, different guy, but it's okay. Yeah. I think they had 6 sacks last week, so there's plenty to go around. And the Bengals are giving up 16 sacks, one of the worst in the league, with an immobile quarterback. Give me Derek Harmon, the rookie. 1+ sack at plus 240 there. He's got 2 sacks in just 3 games played. And look, Watt, Herbig, Highsmith are going to push him off the edge. He's going to have to step up. Like you said, Hayward, Harmon's going to be there one of those times. For my anytime touchdowns, Kenneth Gainwell plus 200. He's the only guy with a rushing touchdown. He has 3 rushing touchdowns on the year for the Steelers, which is kind of insane. And he does some work out of the backfield. And then I'm going to also do some dart throws here, split up a unit. Drew Sample, 12-1. I think it's an outrageous price for a guy who's likely going to be out there with those 2 tight end sets around the goal line. And then Noah Fant, I think it's going to be a big Noah Fant game, plus 450. Flacco loves him some tight ends. He loves some short passes. So I'm big on the tight ends there. I also think ladder opportunity. Noah Fant's yards, 50+ at plus 425, 80+ at 16, over almost 17-1. I found out Bet365. And then Kenneth Gainwell, some ladder opportunity with his receptions, 5+ is plus 425. So that's the Degens there. I think it's going to be a big Kenneth Gainwell, Noah Fant game, and I think there's going to be some points. Derek is packing the Bengals at least to cover the spread there, and a little bit of some Chase Brown and Jonnu Smith. And let's hope for some sacks and some tight end touchdowns, baby. Right. That about wraps it up here. Why don't you tell the people what we got going on before we get on out of here?
Yeah, I mentioned it just a little bit ago, but we did our college episode last night, threw out some bangers of locks in our 6-pack in the college game. Obviously, we have our NFL show here, but you talk about some injury reports that are coming out, more so fantasy related, but might give you some information on the betting side as well tomorrow night over at IDP Plus. So make sure you check that out. As always, we like and appreciate any subscribes, likes, follows, whatever you're willing to do. We're getting closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark. It's what our goal is, coming to the midpoint of the season, which is hard to believe already. We're really trying to hit that 1,000-yard mark by the end of the season. So tell a friend, tell a buddy. Hey, we're cashing over here at a record pace over the past couple of weeks. We're planning on continuing, drop in and check out the show. So yeah, at the end of the day, we appreciate any subscribes that we get, but drop any comments, tell us who you're tailing, what you're fading throughout the NFL. Cause we're always looking for good angles ourselves. And yeah, I think that wraps it up there.
That's a great marketing pitch there by Derek. So not much to say other than if you love football, probably like you're watching this show, you probably do. Hey, we got you covered Monday, Sunday, and Thursday. College football has Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday as well. So we're giving out winners over there. So check that out. But yeah, hey, show us some love here. Crazy run on this locks. 3-1, both of us past 2 weeks. We're going for the sweep this week. So let us know. Again, we love to tail bets because if you got a good one, we'll take it. It's us against the books. You know what they say, folks. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription. From Professor Locks and Doc here at DFSG Plus, we are out of here.